I don't know.
Yeah,
If you want, let me
that's
just shove
okay.
it in the
That's
chat.
okay.
I'm shoving it in the chat.
Yeah. But I'm logged in as a guest, and I don't. So you don't have? Yeah, I don't have chat. Why? I don't have chat in my browser, but yeah, is that?
You should have.
Yeah, Carsten can maybe tell if he's having a chat in the when he joins via WebRTC. Det var bare, om du havde chat i browseren? Nej. So we don't have chat when you're in as a guest in the browser.
Kenneth?
Yeah?
You're just trying to... So I sent him the URL of the VMR that I'm in right now, so he can join, but he's not able to join because then he comes on the standard Pexip screen and he's not able to find the video meeting room that we're in right now, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
So he pressed the link?
He pressed the link, but he's not able to join. Nee, dat is een aparte...
Yeah, but if the easiest thing is if he just slacks with Dorian about it, but he should be able... I'm just gonna do an anonymous browser just to see if there's something that we are missing.
Did we just rename your VMR to live podcast, or did we create?
No.
He's able to join, he says.
Yeah, if I'm joining from an anonymous browser, everything seems to work. But maybe it's because you guys are logged in, so when you... There he is.
Hello. He's in. I don't think
Jordy is in.
All the guests, guys, remember, all the guests are joining, but they're joining muted. So if you want them to tell you something, I can either unmute all guests, or
I think what I maybe want to do is say that we can see most, and if someone wants to raise their hand, they are more than welcome to do so. And then I'm gonna speak the name of whoever wants to be on mute, and if you listen in, you can promote them or just unmute them, basically. Yeah. Cool. So 3 minutes left until we start.
Quick prayer.
This is gonna be fun. There's a first for everything, and this is it.
I've always wanted to do it, but I don't know in which context it would be. But I never expected it to be business related, at least.
Really? Nah. This is good. This is going to be fun, and as I just announced to the guys, and we're going to Alicante on a vacation, and it has been Alicante has been like there has been dust blown from Africa to Spain.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at the weather forecast, and we were actually really thinking about canceling the whole trip. Because if you go down to Alicante and it's just orange dust cloud and dust all over the place, it's probably not a nice trip. So we literally have been sitting going, we're not gonna go, we should cancel. But we ended up deciding to go anyway. So we actually we're leaving in the morning. So that's gonna be fun. But I guess I'll bring my laptop in. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
For 2 weeks.
Alicante. A lot of people are going to like the Spanish region. I talked to Runar yesterday, Itrihus, and he is going to Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
And I went to Tenerife 4 weeks ago, something like that. But really nice region to go to. to get a bit of sun. Just make sure that your head doesn't burn.
Yeah. And my default is factor 50, just to be extra sure. So I'm sharing the sunscreen lotion with the kids. So I see that we have people just joining in slowly but steadily. When you are looking at your view as a guest in today's podcast, you are not able to see yourself, and you're not able to see everyone else who is joining. We have more or less decided that this podcast you will be able to see me, David, and Arthur. So if that's what you're seeing on your screen, that is exactly how it is meant to be. We can see you, so if you have any questions and if anything you want to raise, you can always raise your hand, and we will make sure that you are unmuted and you can ask a question. So, but we begin in 1 minute, and until then, just have a little bit of chitter-chatter. I talked to the guys about my going to Spain tomorrow, so it's going to be a fun podcast today, and then hopefully off to a dusty Alicante and see if the dust has settled or if it hasn't. The fun fact about the dust from Sahara that has been blowing in over Spain where we're going is it actually you can see it in Denmark as well. So I think for the last week, the cars here in Denmark, the windows here in Denmark, you've literally been able to see dust from the Sahara Desert on the cars, which is a bit annoying, but also quite impressive.
Same here in Belgium. I think last weekend when you went to the car washes, there were lines and lines and lines of cars, 30 cars. So
yeah, exactly. So it's 9:30 right now, 9:31. My PC just flipped on the minute. So I guess we will be slowly but steadily moving forward. So. For those of you already viewing, my name is Kenneth. I am going to be the host for today's podcast, and welcome to everyone who has decided to join. The podcast today is going to be regarding the customer journey in 2022. We are going to focus on banks, insurance, and pension as our main focus. But the Skedify tool, which you will hopefully be enlightened about today, can be used for so much more. And we have had a lot of meetings since we merged together with customers from various branches. And everyone is having different ideas on how they can actually use Skedify. And if you have an idea, bring it to us, and we will see if it's something that we can work with together with the Skedify product. So what we're trying to achieve and what we try to do is we will try to cover how you can engage with customers on a homepage and how we can improve the way we create an experience that is better and optimized for both the customer, but also for the employee, for the consultant who is doing the advising. And hopefully this will result, as you as a company having a higher conversion rate, you will have more efficient and effective advisors, and you will see your satisfaction rate go up, which is kind of the big KPIs we all have when we're trying to do business. So I'm the host today. My name is Kenneth, and I have two colleagues who have joined today. One is David, and the other is Arthur. So if we start with you, Arthur, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my first ever podcast. My name is Arthur Blondeel. I am part of the Pexip Ghent office, 24 years old, and have been with what was previously called Skedify, but now Pexip for 2.5 years now. Started out as a business development representative straight after college in Arne's team. Back then we were with 15 to 20 people. We were quite a small team back then, but last year I became account executive, and currently, because of the acquisition that we also will talk about a bit later, I am a subject matter expert regarding the Skedify solution. So I'm now assisting my colleagues and friends out in the Nordics with opening doors and talking to potential customers. Apart from the business side, I'm a big fan of sports, Formula One. So I was very pleased that the season started this weekend. So if you have any non-business related questions, come to me about sports, and we can talk all about it.
That's cool. And being from Skedify, you are the expert here today. So this is a journey for me and David. We have already done the introduction course for Skedify, so we know a little bit. But this is also to bring us up to speed and hopefully bring you who are sitting and viewing up to speed as well. I love Formula One as well. I didn't watch the last race, but I talked to my partners in crime from Poly, who is sponsoring Red Bull, and they say that it could have gone a little bit better in the first race. So maybe let's leave it at that. So Dave, you're here as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you're interested in Formula One.
Yes, I'm also into Formula One, and I will not say who I'm supported, but I will say that last season I was very disappointed, and I considered if I was going to watch Formula One this season. But that's a race director that's out of the picture now, so I think I'll get back to Formula One as well. So, but my name is David. I'm 45 years old, and I'm based in Copenhagen at the Pexip office, and I'm on my second year at Pexip, and I'm sitting in the sales team, and I support new sales, current customers. And when we get new products like Skedify, I will be pushing them, bringing Skedify into the Danish market together with the Skedify team and the rest of the sales team in Denmark. Yeah, and I'm also into sports. I like Formula One, football, and I also like into fighting. So I watch a lot of UFC, and I think this podcast is like a bit inspired by a UFC commentator called Joe Rogan, which Ken is a big fan of. So I think that's where we get the idea to have this small talk podcast session. So I'm looking very forward to have this to try this new style of promoting a product from our side.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and my name is Kenneth. Just to wrap it up, I'm the country manager for Pexip here in Denmark. Been part of the Pexip company since I think we were around 40 people, and we're around 600 now. So it's been quite an amazing journey. My goal in Pexip has been from day one to make sure that everyone in Denmark knows about Pexip, the value we can bring, and to make sure that everyone who has a need for Pexip is in the loop. And now we're a team of 5, which is fantastic. That means that we can engage with more customers, we can bring more value to the market in Denmark, and in the end of the day, bring video meetings to the Danish customers, which hopefully is an amazing experience. So, the expert of the day, Arthur, can you tell us a little bit about Skedify and how that started?
Yes. It's actually a really funny story because it all started with Arne, who was the former CEO of Skedify. He's currently VP of Business Management, but the idea of Skedify started around 2014. And back then, only 2 large banking companies in Belgium had a custom-built scheduling solution. So it was not a commodity back then like video has been in the past and is today. There were a lot of out-of-the-box scheduling solutions available back then in the market, but only for small specific industries like getting an appointment at your hairdresser, salon or healthcare, for example. So those solutions existed back then. But enterprise scheduling was a completely different story. And Arne saw that as well in the market. And a custom scheduling platform that existed back then, which required continuous investments and research. And therefore, a SaaS platform is a much smarter option to start with. So that was the idea that Arne had back then. And he started working on the tool itself after his studies in 2014. And during his work on you have to write a master's thesis at the end of your education here in Belgium. And he noticed the need of easing the process for scheduling appointments in order to improve conversion rates with your customers. So then in 2015, what he did is he started out in the basement of this building that we're standing still in today, here in Ghent. And at the end of that year, he was able to attract Christophe Thelen, who is now our VP of Engineering. And he had experience in a global market leader when it came to healthcare scheduling. Moving forward 2 years, because those 2 years were often spent on developing the product and then creating the product, getting people on board. And in 2017, they were able to launch and commercialize the solution into the market. And in that way, we were able to grow across 3 focus verticals. So some of them you have already mentioned, financial services, so banks, insurance companies, etc. Public sector, including human resources, recruitment, municipalities, and also high involvement retail. So kitchen suppliers, expensive travels, etc. So those are the verticals that we aimed for back then. Moving forward to October 2021, a big leap, but we were acquired by you guys, by Pexip. And it was a perfect match because we already had a special partnership with you guys regarding the video solution that we used for our video appointments. And ever since then. A lot has changed. I've got to know you guys, and currently I'm helping you guys in the Nordics teams to enable you to go to the market. In terms of how we changed over the couple of years, when I started out, like I said, it was a team of 15 to 20 people. Right now we're close to 40 people, just only in the Skedify team. So we have grown quite extensively, moving from the basement to the first floor that we're at today. So literally came from the bottom, but that's a bit the story where we're at right now with Skedify.
Oh, that's fantastic. And as you said, we're now one company, one big family. And David, you're the expert in Pexip. So could you maybe elaborate a little bit around who are Pexip?
Yeah, that Pexip are also a very special story about our startup, and it started in 2011 with some Norwegian guys sitting in a place called Video Valley in Norway, where a lot of video conferencing is coming from. And those guys also want to go the SaaS way, to say how can we develop a new video engine to go to the market instead of the old very massive hardware-based video equipment. How can we make a engine that you can use in different scenarios as well? And how can we develop a video engine that can be easy managed by IT administrators and very given what you say benefits for the end user. So and we have been working with the infrastructure for many years and have a good place in the market. And last year we found out we also have to spread out where can we use this video engine in other scenarios. And we thought that video enablement is a fast growing segment, and I think that's where we see a big potential in the market. And together with Skedify and their solution built on our video solution or our video engine, we have a very strong product. So I think that's where we are like building on the synergy with Skedify and have them in-house in Pexip as well.
Yeah, and I've been in Pexip for years, and one of the best examples of how we bring value to the market and how we make a difference in people's life is that last week my 9-month-old baby, she was very sick, and we were quite a bit worried, and we called the doctor who was there in the weekends, and with the first child I had, we had to go to the hospital, which was 20-30 minute journey, and maybe sit in a waiting room. We did that for some times until you get an appointment with a doctor, and you go in, and typically what he does is he looks at the baby and goes, he's fine, go home. And then you go into the car and you go home again. It's very frustrating. But this time around, it was different because the doctor I spoke with said, I'm going to send you a text message, and you are going to press the link in the text message, and you're going to point your phone at your baby, and I'm going to check if she's okay. It took 2 minutes, and I was reinsured, my wife was reinsured, and we could carry on taking care of our baby. We didn't have to get her in the back of the car and have an unpleasant trip to the hospital to make sure that she was okay. And that is a fantastic difference it makes for me and my family, and I know the solution behind it, that's Pexip, so I know how many people actually have that experience every day, and it's just fantastic. So on that, I want to ask you, Arthur, what is the core benefit of Skedify? And could you give us maybe an example of how you make a difference in the market for the customers?
Yes. But then the first side note that we need to make here with this question is that we first need to look at the current state of the markets that we're in right now and what has happened over the past couple of years. Because, I mean, we cannot get it out of the way. COVID has hit us the past 2 years, and now we're hopefully in the post-COVID periods. But what we see is that advisory networks, so basically the companies that we try to reach out to, they are experiencing, if not the most disruptive evolution of the last couple of years, to say so. Increased digitization, transitioning from a more processing role to an advisory one. Branch networks are changing as well. Just like you said, hospitals, usually you go to a hospital physically, get checked, go back home. Now you can just do that from the ease of your couch. Same with banks as well. You can just talk to an advisor through video from your couch, from a safe environment, but you still talk about the same topics that you would like to. And the thing is, with customers nowadays, they expect more and more from their trusted advisor in terms of attention and tailored advice, because competition is everywhere. It has never been easier to switch from banks, to switch from suppliers and stuff. So you need to give tailored advice and specific advice to customers. And that results in banks and service providers switching to a strategy that is focused on human expertise and advice. It's not about conversion. I mean, conversion is still important, don't get me wrong, but it's more about the customer experience and the expertise that you give to your customers. The thing is that we then see, and the challenging thing that our customers have, is that they often do that through traditional contact methods, getting in touch through phone, mail, etc. That is a bit the situation that we have seen in the markets. Maybe when we're talking about banks and financial institutions and how they have changed, I just want to ask you guys both a question, like, why do people still go physically to a bank or a financial institution? Why would you still make an appointment nowadays compared to how you did that in 10 years ago, for example?
Yeah, maybe David can answer that, because I know he moved quite a lot.
Yeah, I've moved quite a lot, but I still have the same bank for like 20 plus years now. But again, I can see a change that back in the days, I went to my bank maybe once or twice a month, and even I'm an old guy, so when you have to take some money out before all this ATMs machines and all that, I was standing in the queue every day after the first in the month, when you have your salary and you want to take some cash out. I was standing in line with all the other people's. But I can see a very different and nowadays, I think, if I look back, I think it's maybe 2 or 3 years since the last time I was visiting my banks. So everything is going is online. I have the app on my phone, and all my working with the bank, talking to the bank, is going through the app or through a video meeting. I have just bought a summer house, so I was in the situation I was going to looking for a loan. And again, as you said, you have a very short window of attention, because I also know me and Kenneth, when we go for a customer meeting, we have been talking to some banks during the past month, and we always try to look as we were a customer and to sign up on their webpage with this traditional contact formula. And even though we had the customer meeting 3 days after, some of them haven't even answered they filled out the contact formula. So again, you can see, and if they're not answering in 2 or 3 days, you on to the next insurance company as well. But as you say, I think there's a big change in the way we are dealing with the banks and insurance, and also seen in other industries, retail and so on. I think it's much more digitalized now, and again, you have to have this premium customer experience online, both through your homepage, but also to how you are meeting or contacting the contact with your customers.
Yeah, definitely. And it is kind of the important moments in your life, I think, when you're buying a house, buying a car, maybe starting a family. You need to revisit the budget of the household. Even if you're starting a business, you have a fantastic idea like Arthur has, and you want to start a business, then you need to get in contact with a bank. So it is really those important moments where there is something that is changing in your life, where you need to talk to your bank. So it isn't something that you do often. So the experience has to be perfect. And I remember back, and this is years back, when I last changed the bank, I had a few things that was important to me. And I remember I was very specific to the banks I talked to. I said, I don't want to come down to your affiliate, because I literally don't have the time for it. I don't want to sit, find a parking spot in the middle of the day and go into the bank. That's just me. And the second thing I said was, I don't want to sign any documents and have to post them and send them like old school mail with a stamp on it. I want to be able to receive a document, review it, and something digital signing, and just get it back to you guys. Because if I have to, I know myself, if I have to find an envelope and a stamp and all that, I don't want to do it. So those were my main criteria back then. But I guess for a lot of people, how they want to engage if they're potential new customers definitely has changed as well. Our attention span is so much shorter. So I'm thinking, Arthur, maybe can you give us an example of how a Skettify solution actually works when you go into to the homepage. Like, what is the difference compared to the contact formula? Because I know from when I changed bank last time, all of them have a contact formula and then they contact you. So what's the difference?
Yeah, very good question. And the thing is, to give you guys some insight, my sister, for example, is going to open up her physical store. She's 22 years old and she's starting from an online store, now going to a physical store, but she needs a loan. The thing is, she wants to be helped by an expert, and when she goes to the bank's website, it's never been so hard to get in touch. And just like you said, Kenneth, and David as well, your phone has never been closer, your bank has never been closer, yet it's still so far away because it's so hard to get in touch with an actual person. And the thing is, what is important for that person in that moment when he wants to get in touch with a bank, he needs to feel relaxed. He needs to feel, he doesn't need the feeling to be stressed, and needs to be confident that they will be helped by the right person. So eventually, when my sister wants to make an appointment, she needs to make sure that she is in good hands, talking to an expert, knowing when she is going to meet the expert, and that the meeting will be well prepared. So then your question, Kenneth, is how does that play out in a solution? The thing is, in 5 simple steps, you're able to just book your appointments at the peak of your interest as a customer. So when she wants to book that appointment, she can choose about the specific topic that she would like to meet. She can choose the specific advisor that she would like to meet at a time slot that is both suited for my sister, but also for the advisor. She can choose the channel which she likes to meet, because it's a loan. It's a big investment. It's a life-changing moment. So maybe you would want to go to a physical location, or maybe go do it to video if that is more suitable. And also, when it comes to preparation, you can ask these questions regarding to the topic within our solution as well. So if the topic is, for example, I want to get a loan to start up a business, you can ask specific questions about that. The meaning and then the purpose of that behind it is when she eventually will meet with her personal advisor, that guy already knows who my sister is, who will come over, and what the conversation will be about. And that's where the value is created, and the value is not created in setting the appointment, but having the actual conversation. And that is a bit how that works out and translates into our solution today. But the key point that I do want to figure out, to point out here, is customer needs to feel relaxed, because it's a life-changing moment. They are often emotionally involved in this as well. So you want to make sure as a bank that your customer feels at ease and is able to explain his story well enough in a way that the bank can help them in the best way possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been in the industry for a long time, and obviously I'm a customer as well. And if you look at the typical experience, if you have a video meeting, it's usually it seems like a remote desktop that has been driven by the advisor. It's typically we will have send you one link for screen sharing, and then we will call you on the phone, or you need to download an app. It's very cumbersome and very time consuming. So often when you actually start the meeting with your advisor, I can imagine how that must feel for something who's not technical, but because even someone like me who's in the video industry, it tends to be a bit complicated, and video conferencing can be easily very can be a bit stressed, and it's, I guess it's comparing it to a sort of physical meeting when you go down to the bank. If you live here in Copenhagen, where me and David live, if there's no parking lot, if there's no place to park when you arrive in your car at the bank, already there when you're circling around the block trying to find somewhere to park, already there you know that the meeting that you're going to have with the advisor is going to be a bit more stressed, a bit more bad. And I imagine, and you know this better than me, Arthur, that if you are stressed, if you maybe are a little bit late to the meeting, and if you're not feeling confident about the whole experience, how does that affect the outcome of that meeting? Because essentially the advisor is trying to advise, but also trying to sell. Like, how would that affect a meeting that is about to happen or is happening?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, when the preparation is not as good as you as hoped it would be, I went to the bank, for example. I scheduled a 1-hour meeting slot, but the first 50 minutes then went to to discussing what the project is about. Did you bring those papers? Oh no, I forgot them, etc. And the first 50 minutes of the meeting are not are not the most valuable of the entire conversation that you have. And that all is the consequence of not having a good appointment solution in place. I scheduled my appointment through a contact form. I just left a bit of details because I had to. Normally it's optional, but it was mandatory. And then the first 50 minutes, you're late. Like you said, you don't have a parking spot. You need to go to a specific meeting room. You sit down, and then the first 10 minutes, you're still in that rush of getting that parking spot, etc.
Yeah.
And the thing is, again, as a customer, you want to be there and want to be sure that you can bring your entire story that you wanted to bring towards the advisor. Need to feel at ease, and that is the thing. If the advisor is prepared and also the customer is prepared, the advisor needs to ease the customer and needs to make sure, like, hey, you're in a good place. I'm the expert. I will help you. You're in good hands now. And that should also be mentioned when people schedule the appointments. And the final step is then the confirmation page. You're in good hands now. And that's all that people want to know, that they're in good hands. Yeah.
And how do we do that? Like, how do we make sure that we actually handheld the customer from the booking to the actual meeting? Like, what are the tools that we can use to make sure that experience is good and that we actually get the customer into the meeting? Because I reckon a lot of the booked meetings from a bank, the customer never shows up. Either difficulties, they maybe don't have it in the calendar, they forget. So how do we make sure that is a good experience and we end up getting the customer in the meeting at the right time? What are the tools?
Yes, good question. First thing that we do in order to well prepare the meeting is, like, in one of the steps, we ask specific questions regarding the topic that you schedule appointment about. So that is the first way that you can allow the customer to give more information about the project, but it also better prepares the advisor as well. Second thing that you mentioned, which is really important, is the number of no-shows, because that is a thing that often comes up with some of our customers. Is people often just forget to show up, to go to the meeting, even if it's a video meeting, which is so easy to join nowadays. People still forget about it. It's the same with me. It's not because I'm working at a video company and 24 years old, fresh in my mind, that I will always remember all my meetings that I have. And that's what we try to solve with reminders, texts, and reminder mails that we have, confirmation mails where the link is in there as well, so I can immediately link that to my calendar as well. So I get reminders and that I will show up to my appointment. What our other customers do as well is, even though that the appointment is made, they still make a call to the customer just to establish that relationship, get to know the person better before they come to the meeting. And then 1 or 2 days in advance of the actual meeting, when the meeting would take place, again, you can send reminders through email, through text. You can send instructions as well. Hey, parking spot is in this street next to the office, whatever, etc. Just, again, to make sure that your customer, all the questions that he has to get to the meeting are covered. So in a way that when I know that I have an appointment on Saturday, everything is covered. Parking spots, the person that I'm talking to, the meeting room is fixed, the topics that we're going to talk about is fixed. I don't have any stress anymore because I know that I'm in good hands. And that's how we solve that today for our customers. I don't know, for you guys, for example, what is important when you guys book a meeting with like a bank or a service provider?
Yeah, again, I would like to take it a step back, because, again, if you say when you book a meeting, but even the process of booking the meeting, have the meeting arranged in the books, that could be a little bit complicated, because, again, you use this contact formula on the homepage. They'll get maybe 2 or 3 days before they call you back. Often when they call you back, you are not in the same state of mind, thinking about the loan or everything. Often you are in the supermarket or doing something else and said, can I call you back tomorrow? And again, it's very complicated to get the appointment in the book from the start. And I think also seen from the bank's point of view, if they have an advisor sitting there to try to book a meeting with me, and they will maybe easily use 1 hour just to get the meeting books by calling back and forth, sitting with the calendar. Are you available at that time? Are you available? So I think also that's a lot of time consumption, waste of time for an employee with a salary that is actually quite nice, I think. So I think even to get the booking in the book can be a challenge, and also that's where we see the benefits of your scheduling tool, that I can do it when I want it, on my time, on my permissions.
Yeah, but I think back to your question, Arthur. I think coming from the video industry and been being part of talking the kind of modern workplace for the last 10 years, I think one of the most important things to realize, regardless of the topic of the meeting, but any kind of meeting in business, if you want to have a high quality outcome, that comes from people being relaxed, being open-minded, and feeling unstressed, and feeling secure in kind of the setting that they're in. So let's say that we want to develop a new product. Years back, I was at the ISS, which is a global. I'm going to call them a cleaning company. If they're listening in, I bet you do so much more. But that's kind of what everyone knows them for. And they had this place where they call it the garage, where they developed all the cool stuff. They came up with ideas. And they do a lot of I can't really remember what it's called, but where you do quick development. And I was part of a week where we tried to develop a new concierge experience for the meeting room. And one of the things that were evident when I came was that there was no technology. Like there were walls where you can write with magic markers. There were hammocks. There were chairs. There were it was such a relaxing place to be, and there was no technology. And being the guy I am, I immediately tried to push for a huge touchscreen where you can write and you could do all this digital drawing. And the facilitator said, no, we don't want any technology, because we can see that the outcome is worse the more technology we introduce. And with the current environment we're in right now, we are trying to establish more or less the same in meetings, like the feeling of being extremely relaxed, extremely unstressed. So regardless if it's a sales meeting when you're trying to pitch something, if it's development, it's HR, it's marketing, you want the outcome to be high quality, and you want people to be open-minded. And that comes from being extremely relaxed, being confident about what you're doing. And I think one of the areas where I saw your solution being very different from what I usually see is just when you book a meeting that you will actually get a picture and a name of the advisor right away. So you know who you're talking to. When you have the meeting, it's going to be a familiar face, and you even get the title of the person that you're supposed to talk to. So let's say it's investment. Then you know it is an investment banker. It is someone who knows exactly what they're talking about. And I think that creates confidence as a customer when you go into the meeting, that you know I'm about to go into the right meeting, regardless of it being in person or in video. So I think all those small things can help make a big difference.
Yeah, indeed. And linking is back to what David said. If you have a contact form, I leave my personal details and maybe some information in the optional fields, but I don't know who I'm talking to and who will contact me. And often, for example, when I filled out contact forms in the past, you get a call from an unknown number, and I have the tendency to not pick up unknown numbers, even though I made the appointment 3 days ago. I always have the same saying: if it's important, they will leave a voicemail. But often they don't, and they send an email saying, "Hey Arthur, you filled out the contact form 3 days ago. Are you still available on the times that you have sent over in that form?"
Yeah.
Probably no, but I will send over new times. And then you have the back and forth constantly with a person that you have never spoken to, never seen, and then you still have to schedule that appointment. And as a customer, that friction in that experience, you also take that into account in your decision-making process when you eventually choose a product or service that you would like to get. And if that first experience is not frictionless, I mean, then eventually you will probably choose between a different service provider than the one you have reached out to in the first place. At least I did that as well with the companies that I reached out to through a contact form, for example. So that was my personal experience.
And I think a lot of these meetings, they are going to be on video. So if we touch upon that just really quickly, I think one of the things that are really important now is to create a video experience that mimics the experience of actually going down to the bank's physical branch office. Because here in Denmark, I think Jyske Bank was famous for doing it. Like they tried to innovate. How is the experience when you go down? There were coffee corners where you can get coffee. They even changed the door handles to a little green hand. So the whole experience was being like a little bit more informal, a little bit more innovative, a little bit more, let's say, young in kind of the how everything looked and feel. And what I'm seeing right now with the different platforms is you more or less choose a video platform that is often off the shelf, like Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and they're fantastic platforms. All of them are fantastic platforms. But if you get a link that is that is from a usual kind of off-the-shelf solution, it's built for internal meetings. It's not built for customer engagement, and that means that you will typically press the link, and if you are getting a loan, you will see maybe a Microsoft logo, you will see a Cisco logo, maybe even a Pexip logo like the ones we have today. And I can see there's a lot of Pexip logos in the background. So we are going all in. But what you really want to do is mimic that there is your sign as a bank, that it is Sydbank, Spar Nord, Nykredit, Nordea. It's your sign, it's your colors. And usually if you're a local bank, you maybe sponsor someone. You maybe sponsor the local football team. Then you want to have, we sponsor something in the corner, because if you go into the bank, you'll probably have diplomas all over the place stating your values, who you are. And you want that to be mimicked into the video conferencing. So the way we can help do that with the video engine is that we can make sure there is a waiting room that is perfectly branded. There's a welcome screen where you can type in your name. We can even, if you know the name of the person who we have the meeting with, we can even prearrange so the meeting it will have your name stated already. So just click OK. If there's anything you need in terms of authentication, we can authenticate with the local ID providers, NemID, MitID in Denmark. So we can make sure that if you have a meeting, that you have authenticated yourself, so everyone knows that you are the person in the meeting. And I think that creates trust, and it makes sure that when you are joining the meeting, you know that I'm joining the right meeting. It's not a hacker or someone trying to fool me into a meeting. We have seen that a few times here in Denmark. Some more fun than others. And I think we can also make sure that the joining experience is good. Like you can test your microphone, you can test your camera, and you can maybe even test it in advance. So when you have the meeting, it's not a last-minute thing to make sure that everything is working. So creating that experience where you get to a familiar page, familiar logos, familiar colors, and I think it has to be right down to the buttons that you have on your video solution. Like the button should be that bluish, reddish, greenish color that is in your marketing palette. So it is a Jyske Bank solution. It's not an American cloud provider, a Norwegian cloud provider solution. It is your solution, and it looks like your solution. And I think if we can come to that kind of experience, then we make sure that the customer is at ease from a booking perspective, but also when they are about to join a video call. So that's one of the ways we make a difference. But a lot of customers actually use Microsoft Teams, for instance. So David, can we integrate with Microsoft Teams and Office 365 and that whole deal? Because I think that's going to be important for a lot of customers.
Yeah. And of course, we support the other meeting platforms as well. So again, as you said, we have been to a lot of customer meetings in the real life, and we see how many money is spent on brand and brand recognition. And for those big brands, it's very important. And then again, if now we are quite young people, but again, if you're talking about my mother, and she's got invited to a bank, and she got an invitation from a third-part video company, then she has difficulties to join the meeting, and maybe she's a little bit insecure. Oh, is this the bank meeting, or why is not the bank's name on the screen, and so on. So I think it's very important with this branding, and of course we support other platforms as well. So you can have the until now Sketified solution built with the video engine from your own provider of video as well.
Yeah, and I think when we normally look at a video platform, a platform today is about collaboration in a company and with externals. And we have emojis, we can clap, we can chat, we can spotlight, we can do funny backgrounds. There's all kind of different tools to make that experience amazing, really fun, like it would be in real life. But I'm guessing the tools, the buttons, the capabilities, both from an advisor and the customer, I guess has to be different in a bank meeting where you're talking about pension or you're talking about insurance. So Arthur, when you're in a call, what is the difference here? What do you actually need to make sure you have a successful meeting? Because I'm guessing you don't need a clap and a thumbs up button. What are the tools you actually need?
It depends on the type of conversation that you have, of course. But the thing is, we're an omni-channel solution. So first of all, we need to keep in mind that you offer the channel based on the requirements of the conversation that you have with the customer. Like David said, for some people will always want to go to the office. That I see that with my parents as well. They want to speak to a physical person, have a physical conversation. I, for example, on the other hand, find it really easy to do that through a video meeting because I can do that from the ease of my couch, but I can also do the same things that I would do in a physical location. Because the experience is so easy, I can share documents with my advisor. He can share documents with me as well. I can digitally sign documents, again, from the ease of my couch. If he signs over documents saying, hey, Arthur, thanks for taking the loan, just sign this while we're in the video meeting, which is possible. From the advisor point of view, they can also record the entire conversation, which is really interesting. And you can pinpoint the exact moments where something interesting has been said. So if you, for example, have a 1 hour conversation with a customer, probably not every single minute of that conversation will be something valuable. But the points that are valuable, then you don't have to rewatch the entire conversation that you had with the customers. So that is the thing. There are so many features in there that just make it easy, not only for the customer, because that is the main point of view for us, for example, but from the advisor point of view, it's also easy to do his job while the customer doesn't need to come to his physical location. Sharing documents, signing documents, raising hands, maybe if that would be necessary. But everything is there just to ease the job, both for the advisor, but also for the customer in this case. But again, it's important to keep in mind that you offer the optimal channel to meet for each type of customer. And that is what we see as well in our data that we have with customers. The older people will often tend to make a physical appointment, going to physical branches. Us, on the other hand, who are more used to doing video and stuff, then we will often use it to just have a video meeting with our advisor itself. Then again, at one stage, you will definitely have to go to a physical location, and then it's easy that you can do that through the same booking solution that you booked your video appointment with. So that's how we solve that today when it comes to video, for example.
Yeah.
And Arthur, I just had the meeting with the bank yesterday, and I know GDPR, security, privacy is a big topic in Denmark, I think in the whole of Europe. And actually, when I had the video meeting with my bank, I had to have my phone in one hand and had the video meeting on the PC. Have we solved that problem, the challenge regarding GDPR, security?
I'm not a legal expert. I'm only a subject matter expert regarding Skedify. But I do know. I mean, we wouldn't be working with the banking customers and bigger financial companies in this world today if we haven't had covered GDPR and security related topics. Because indeed, everyone wants to keep their data safe, secure, and data is key for companies. Then again, you also want to make sure that your customers are in a safe environment and that they can share personal details in a safe and secure environment. So we've got that covered. And in what way that is possible, then you would need to talk to our legal team, who is more experienced than I am. But we've got that covered. Then again, that's the thing. It wouldn't be easy, again, if I see my mom doing a video call with, on the one hand, her phone and then a computer sharing screens, trying to sign documents. That just doesn't work. So that is the thing that we try to solve. You just have a conversation. You need to click a little bit of buttons just to share some documents. But again, make it as easy and as simple as possible. Just like for you, like you had the meeting, make it as easy as possible to make sure that everything runs smoothly for everyone. Because then again, Skedify is not pretending like we're going to be the new solution and getting the old things out of the way, because you want to offer the people that want to come to your branch still the possibility to let them come over. And I had this conversation once with a customer who says it's not up to the company to decide how your customer wants to get in touch with you. Give them all the channels possible and then let them come to you, and they will eventually come in a way that is suitable to them. And that helped them a lot in getting more customers, but also more qualified customers as well in the long run. So that was a really great comment that I get over like that.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, and I can maybe also answer the question, because we had with some of the partners we have here in Denmark. We actually for a few years have had the concept was called the Great Bank Meeting, the God Bank Meeting in Danish, which basically was the experience when you had a video meeting. So we didn't take care of the scheduling part. But let's say you actually did do the contact formula. You could get a link and you could actually join a meeting. And I remember one of the things was really important for the banks was MiFID, which is that if you advise someone in regarding investments, etc., you need to record that meeting. So you don't have to record video, but you need to record audio. Yeah. So we made a solution back then that actually grabs the audio from the meeting, so the advisors and the bank have that afterwards to prove that the advising that they gave were relevant, good. I don't know the legal. Again, I'm not a GDPR expert or a legal expert, but to make sure that the quality of the call was exactly what it was meant to be. So we can definitely solve that. So we make sure that GDPR, all the regulations and those details, they are fulfilled together with the I would say that's the DPO of the company that we need to work with. Another thing that we just launched here, I think. It's 4 days ago as a upcoming feature, is the ability to pre-record something that your customer will see before they actually join the meeting. So let's say that you are a customer and you are about to join a video call with your advisor, and you press that join button, and then you can actually have a little, maybe 5, maybe 10-second recording before you actually arrive into to the meeting. And one of the fun things, I raised this with someone in the industry, and they say, "Oh, that's perfect, because then you can actually say you're about to arrive in your meeting. Remember to have your passport so we can clearly see that it is you. And remember you have this. Remember to have this, and remember to have this." And my immediate reaction was, no, that's not what it is meant for. Because again, we don't want to stress someone. This is not about making sure that the advisor has everything they need when the meeting begins. A pre-recorded message is, of course, to make sure that the customer is at ease, that they're relaxed, that this is the last chance, this is the last 10 seconds where we can make sure now you're going to get a fantastic experience. So I'm not a marketing expert, but my suggestion would be like, hi, you're about to join the meeting with your advisor. They know about your situation. They know exactly what you're here to talk about. So in a minute, we will transfer you. Just sit back, relax, and we'll take care of the rest. Something that is just meant to be extremely like, yeah, I'm in good hands. And then you join the call. And I think that's really important to note, that how do we actually use these digital tools? Because we can customize the booking experience, we can customize the video experience, but we need to think about how we actually customize a solution to make sure that obviously the advisor should have a good experience, but the customer should have a fantastic experience. And I want to move back to because we talked a lot about the customer experience. So when you are the advisor, you obviously need to have not just a good experience in call, because as you said, Arthur, and I completely agree, a lot of people just want to come and join a bank meeting in the branch. And maybe even if it's high profile, you are VIP bank. I don't know if they exist. I never experienced it myself. But let's say you want to have someone that comes to your house. So the booking process is one thing. But what is the change for an advisor? Like, let's say today that David, he filled out the contact formula. What happens today, and what is your experience for the advisor when you implement a Skedify solution? How do they notice the difference?
Yeah, and the most common flow that we have seen is you fill in the contact form as a customer, and then usually that goes through a central team, a central location, maybe a central inbox, which then is redirected to the right office, for example, then relocated to the right person who has the expert advice on the topic that the customer had made an important request about, and then someone will do the calling. But you hear from my way of talking, it's a lot of and a lot of manual steps, but you didn't even reach out yet to the customer, only after the fourth thing that I mentioned. So it's a lot of manual work. And I remember from my first days here at Skedify, it was 2.5 years ago, we also had and it shouldn't be that way, we had a contact form back then 2.5 years ago on the website. And that was the same process. Yeah, I know, practice what you preach, but forget about it, it's 2.5 years ago. The contact forms came in, I got a name, I got a subject, but that was about it. So I had to call as well. And often these people forgot that they filled it in, or they don't know who I am. And I say, hey, this is Arthur from Skedify. Huh, Skedify? Yeah, you filled out the demo request. Okay, I remember. And see, that first the first few seconds are so important in a conversation, and it's often a lot of manual work that goes behind it. Right now, for example, we're working with Skedify, that is what we call it. And if people book an appointment, I see who I'm going to talk to, what they scheduled, at what time they are going to schedule it. Oh, it's through video. Okay, perfect. I can do it at home so I can better prepare. They filled out some questions. I know what their core business is, how big their business is. I can already start comparing their use case to the use cases that we have done in the past for existing customers. So I have all the information that I need as an advisor to confidently go into that call and help the customer. Instead of just having a name and some potential time slots, I now have a name and a huge amount of information that can help me in establishing that first relationship with the customer. So if you book an appointment as a customer through the entire flow, it is immediately redirected to the right person, to the right advisor. It is immediately linked to the agenda of the advisor and has all the information in there. It can also be easily sent from the plugin to a CRM system, for example, in a way that it immediately creates a customer profile. So all the manual work that a sales guy like me and you guys doesn't like to do, because no one likes to dive into Salesforce and fill in all the details, all that is done. The only thing that I have to do is establish a relationship and have a meeting with my customer. And that is where I can add the value. Value is not adding, setting the appointment and trying to get in touch with the customer. The value is added in the conversation where you guys have the skills to help the customer. And that is the thing that is most important for our advisors today. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of manual steps. And we have been educated to sell, to help the customer, and we have not been educated to set appointments. The one customer once told me they did a calculation, and 30% of the time of their sales went to setting appointments. 30% of the time of a sales guy goes to setting appointments. But then again, only 70% goes to doing your actual job, but 30% goes to something that has nothing to do with your job, where you don't bring value. And then there is a big opportunity cost, and that is often a eye-opener for customers when they hear it. I'm not saying that every company has 30% of their time going to setting the appointments, but we have seen it, and that was for us as well. Like if you can just solve that by 5% or 10%, the opportunity cost that is behind that is massive for these types of companies. So that is where the value is with a solution like Skedify. And then again, if you have the meeting as an advisor well prepared, you have a valuable conversation. And at the end, and that is also a feature that we have in the platform, each meeting has an outcome. The prospect became a customer, the prospect is interested but didn't become a customer, whatever. If you define an outcome and you click that within the platform, you can immediately trigger actions in different systems. For example, a marketing automation tool, which immediately will put the prospect, for example, in a marketing automation sequence. If the person became a customer, you can immediately create an opportunity within Salesforce or Dynamics, for example. All this is done to make the job and the manual tasks that the person doesn't like to do easier and automate it in a way that the only thing that they have to do is have valuable conversations. And that is, to me, the biggest value for these big advisory networks. Because if we're going to look at banks, we're not talking about 2 or 3 offices. We're talking about a sales force of 100, 200, 300 people that are customer facing. But there's a lot of time going to scheduling those appointments. If we can get rid of that 30%, then this is sounding really salesy right now, but then that is the biggest value to me. And the reason I get so excited is because our customers get excited as well about it. So
and I also think, as you said, there's like the 30% in the pre-meeting, but also I think there must be some process in the post-meeting, because when I have like 5 meetings a day and you have to fill out the forms, create the customer in your CRM system, fill in what have you been talking about and all this, if that's been automatically filled out, we will save a lot of time post-meeting as well.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing, Arthur, to see how your face lightens up. I saw you getting enthusiastic when you talked about this, which I think is an amazing. And now we're getting a bit more into the technical stuff, is regarding how does the solution actually works. And you talked about it integrates into, I heard Dynamics, I heard Salesforce, which is really cool, because I think a lot of the times this is not something that is considered, that you actually handheld the information and put it into the system and create the potential new customer in the system. But I know there's other systems we integrate to, and I heard you say something offline once about how we integrate into, is it called Sidecore? Something you can do where you can track on the homepage. You can make sure you actually know what they browse. Because me and David, if we go to a homepage of a bank, we are going to browse, loans. We're going to browse maybe something for a house. I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about that side of it?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to see me excited, then this is one of the features that I really like of the platform. But it's what we like to call lead segmentation. And it's basically, if I, as a customer, you go to a banking website and you're going to click on different stuff, different things, like you said, loans, for example, you do a return on investment calculator or an investment calculator, whatever. But with smart content management systems, think about Sidecore, Kentico, there are a lot of out there. All the actions that I take as a prospect on a website can be given some sort of score, for example. So if I do a return on investment calculator and I put in there, I want to take out a loan for 1 million euros, for example, that will get a big score because the bank knows, oh, this is a potential big customer. If I say I want to take out a loan to buy my first car and it's 5,000 euros, then maybe my score will be lower, for example, because the bank finds that less interesting, for example. But all the actions are given some sort of score. And that information stays on the website, and some sort of profile is created regarding the actions that I took on the website. And then eventually, when I want to schedule a meeting, the plugin of Skedify, which runs on your website, can gather that information from your content management system and know, oh, this is that one profile that did an interesting loan calculator, etc. We don't know the name yet, but we have all the details about what I clicked on. And then depending on the score that I got from the content management system, the plugin can react in many different ways, meaning that you can offer more availability to people that maybe seem more interesting to your bank and offer less availability and flexibility to customers that seem less interesting to the bank. I'm going to say less interesting because otherwise it will have a negative connotation. But I mean, that's the interesting thing as well, because the customer, the end customer, being the person that is searching through the website, will never know this. But for the bank, this is highly valuable because they will put the most interesting customers in front of the most experienced people. And that is what you want. You want to put your most experienced people in front of the customers that have most value to your company. So then again, you can link, for example, if we go back to the examples of the young guy that wants to buy his first car, you can put those in front of a junior sales advisor who will be perfectly able to help you. But the person who wants to get a loan for 1 million euros to buy a new beach house, for example, I'm looking at David right now, then you want to put them in front of a senior advisor who has experience with same number of clients like David. And that's the value of the lead segmentation that goes behind it. And the technical stuff, I mean, that is something that we can cover maybe later with you guys. But the most important part is where the value is of a feature like this. And then it gets interesting for advisors, the company, etc., and all the steps that you can take behind it as well.
Yeah. And I think this also helps the customer because we need to guide them and help them into getting into the right channel when they actually talk to us. Because if we know that this is something we can easily solve, let's say you need a new loan for a bicycle, then there's maybe not any reason to give you the option of actually going down to the branch office, because maybe it's okay to have a telephone call that is 10 minutes and we ask you to do something and then you get approved rather quickly. So it also, I think, helps the customer. But when you were talking about this, I imagined like if me and David, when we were going to customer meetings, if we didn't know who the customer was, how big they were, like what they were interested in, how do we set the right team? How do we make sure that it's the right person who's actually contacting them? Because for us in this company, you have different capabilities. So and there's a big difference on the teams we set. If it's the Danske Bank or a Novo Nordisk, or let's say a local carpenter goes into the website and goes, I want to have a video meeting with my customers. I want to have one virtual meeting room. How do I set this up? We might want to redirect those two customers in very different directions in terms of what is the teams and the expectations that we're setting, and how can we move this process fastest to make sure that they get exactly what they want as quick and as easy as possible. And it's not because well, obviously we like the big customers, but it's not maybe because that we want to help the carpenter less, but it's because we can help him reach his goal much faster. Because we know big customers, big situation, it's much more complicated. It's going to take a longer time, and we need to spend more time on maybe technical stuff. So it's also a matter of, I imagine, for an advisor to make sure that if this is something where we can help quickly and just maybe a phone call or a chat is enough to make them reach their goals, there's no reasoning in booking a senior advisor who with 10 years of experience in mortgage loans. So I think that's really important to state that it's not about how important you are. It's making sure that the quickest and best way we can help you to get to where you want to go. That's the channel we're choosing for you, and that's the advisor we're choosing for you. And I think that's important for both the advisor and for the customer. And yeah.
David, just a question for my understanding. How have you experienced that? Because Kenneth mentioned that you changed banks or had a lot of conversations with banks recently or the last couple of years. How did you experience that with your banks, and what did you see there?
Yeah, of course, as you say, if it's what you say in Danish, quick loan, if it's just some short money, then you don't need to have a conversation and so on. But again, if, as you said before, if I want to have 1 million euro for my new beach house, I expect that they will get back to me before 3 days, and I expect another treatment as well. So I think, again, this segmentation to see how are you in your process, how can we plan the best meeting possible with you as a customer. I think that's very important as well. So I think it's a quite nice feature to have in the system to see where have you been clicking on the website and so on, and gather this information as well. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. And again, as we talked to earlier, you have a very short time slot where you have the customer's attention before you're on to the next page, web page. Or again, you can Google bank loan, and you'll get the first 5 or 6 banks. And if they're not responsive, you will go to the next one. So I think it's very. There's a bit of urgency in having the first customer conversation in the best possible way.
Yeah, but I think there's one thing we are missing here when we talk about the advisor experience, because I remember we were sitting 10 minutes back and talking about anxiety, being stressed, feeling maybe not confident as a customer. But there's also the advisor side when we talk about engaging with technology, and now we are slowly and gradually moving back to the video experience, where we know how we can do things. Because there's also a matter of how is it to be an advisor in those virtual meetings. Because if you have to spend the first 10 minutes being the IT supporter for the customer to make sure that everything works, then the quality of the advisor is also going to go down. So maybe Arthur, can you talk a little bit about what is the difference between a good experience and a bad experience for an advisor when you're in a video call? Or maybe that's to David. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide who to answer.
Yeah, I think that David can answer that one because he has had the experience himself.
Yeah, and as you said, maybe the first 10 minutes of the meeting are going as an IT specialist to help you get into the meeting. And if he haven't had that information about what you've been browsing, then the next 10 minutes will go on to ask questions, what you're really asking for, what is this meeting about. So I think it's crucial to have this information before a meeting. And again, as you said, the stress of the situation has to be relaxed, and you have to be in a good place when you have these meetings. So also for the advisor to have gathered so much information about the customers. As Kenneth said before, when we go to a customer meeting, we also read up on the customer. How big are they? What are their pains? How can we add value to this customer? So I think preparing is also crucial for an advisor as well.
Yeah, and I've helped set up quite a few video calls with my mom. They actually bought a house a few years back, and she's retired now, so she's not used to the whole collaborative space now, where we all have virtual meetings and we all use these online platforms. And I remember she called me. She was supposed to join. I can't remember the bank. She was supposed to join a video call. And the link she got referred to a page where she was supposed to download an app. And after a few seconds, I realized that she has actually been asking the advisor in the bank meeting for her Apple ID. What is the password for the Apple ID? Because she was redirected on her phone to go into the App Store and actually download the client that should be the client for the video meeting. And imagine being an advisor, having the customer call you and say, "I'm sitting here with my phone while I'm talking, trying to navigate in App Store, trying to remember my password. Maybe you can help me. I clicked the I forget the password link, and I've gotten an email, and I'm not quite sure I understand." Imagine an advisor in the first 10 minutes of that meeting having to navigate all of that. And I've seen some of the solutions out there, which are fantastic for collaboration meetings internally. But some of them are like 15, 20 clicks. You have to go back and forward between an app and an invitation before you actually get into the meeting. And I reckon that must leave the supporter, or not the supporter, the advisor, in a very stressful situation when they have to navigate that. And I think, David, you said you actually had both something running on your PC and you had your phone. So that's two systems that has to work. Hopefully you know how to dial a phone number. I bet you do. But that's two things that have to work in conjunction. And I think one of the areas of video conferencing and video meetings that is really underappreciated is the advisor's role in being relaxed and being unstressed. And here we're talking about advisors in banks, and we're talking about advisors in pension companies. Their value, what they're essentially selling, is expertise. It is that they know how to navigate in this, if you're buying a house, loans and all that is complicated. They are the ones who are the professional advisors. And if you are stressed, if you are uncertain in a meeting as an advisor, the advice you're going to give the customer is not going to be high quality. It's not going to be as good. It's not going to be a good experience. And that definitely, I imagine, leads to worse business outcomes. We talked a lot a few years back with law firms. And they said their biggest hassle with video meetings back then was that the lawyers, they were terrible in video meetings because they have to think quite quickly when they're in a meeting and giving legal advice, because they have to tackle all the law books and everything they've read for the past 10 years. That has to go through their mind process while that they are in a meeting. And if they're stressed, if they're not in a comfortable state, your mind shuts down. Then you can't remember all the things you were supposed to remember. And I don't know how that plays out for an advisor in a bank meeting or pension meeting or insurance meeting. But I imagine that you want your advisors, your salespeople, you want them to be the best version of themselves and perform to the best of their capabilities when they're engaging with a customer. Because 1 hour with a customer, let's say you have 1 hour bank meeting, that's expensive for the bank. So that's a lot of cost for employees to spend 1 hour in a meeting. And if they don't give the best outcome they can, and they don't end up agreeing with the customer to sign a deal and get a loan or whatever they are talking about, that's very expensive. And one thing I learned in my past in sales is there is no second place. Where there's only either you win and the customer chooses you, or you lose, and then there's zero. So you have to be the one who gives the best experience. So I imagine being that IT supporter for 10 minutes, having that little bit of stressed feeling before the meeting, it leads to worse business outcomes. And talking about business outcomes, I imagine us right now, we've been talking about a customer going to a homepage. Let's say this is the amount of people that goes to the homepage. Then X amount, they click, I want to become a customer. Mm-hmm. X amount gets contacted, and X amount go to the meeting, and then a finite amount ends up saying yes to being a customer. So I imagine that being a bit like this. How does this new solution from Skedify, how does this impact the amount of people that goes to the website to actually the amount of people saying yes to be a customer in the banks? What's the difference? Do you have any numbers, indication, gut feeling about that?
Yeah, and funny that you mentioned that, because that is often one of the slides that has the most impact when we go to customers, which is like the funnel that you guys see and that everyone in marketing probably knows. But the funny thing there is that everyone, I mean, 90% of the cases, people start their buyer journey online. So eventually they will try to get in touch through some sort of way. Is it social media? Is it a contact form? Whatever. But even in that first step of people leaving their information, almost 27 to 30% either doesn't leave their details or leaves their details, but never eventually gets a second follow-up step. So that's already 30% of the people that are interested, that have decided to, okay, I'm going to leave my details, that just drop off. And that's already a huge amount of people, of potential customers that you were not able to reach out to because you just weren't quick enough to get in touch with them too. Because when people are on your website, you need to keep in mind, at that moment, I am personally at my peak of my interest. When I want to renovate my house and I'm looking at bathrooms and I decide, okay, this is the bathroom provider that I want to work with and I want to make an appointment, and I immediately can convert my interest into a physical appointment. I mean, that's the dream for the company, but for me as a customer as well. Because I'm not at the peak of my interest the day after, because I'm at the peak of my interest today when I'm looking at your website. So you need to convert them and at that moment, which is highly important. And what we have seen with our customers in the past is a number of qualified leads, so not just leads, but qualified leads have been up to 30% with some of our customers.
Wow.
So I mean, if you, again, that offer the channels that you want to offer to your customers and they will eventually come to you. But Skedify is configured in a way that you not only have more leads, but also more qualified, because you know who's going to come, how far they are in their personal buyer journey, etc. And up to 30%, I mean, that is something that everyone would sign up for, right?
I mean, definitely.
I'm a sales guy again, so that's perfect. But even if you can improve it by 5% or 10% or small margins, if we're looking at the scale of the companies that we're talking to and have worked with, we're talking about big margins, about big numbers, and that's important to them. Then again, if you then can also link it to the opportunity cost of the advisor, which is up to 20% of setting up appointments, if you combine those two, I mean, the return on investment can be more than you expected it to be. And then that's the thing. Video is a commodity product, and the value of video is already provided. And the thing is, with appointment scheduling and a platform like Skedify, you still have to introduce the customer to a product like we are. Appointment scheduling is not a commodity. But once they get to see the value and see the numbers and what we can offer with our customers in the past, I mean, that's often an eye-opener. And then people say, okay, 30% increased in qualified conversion. I want to see that, and it's logical. It would be my reaction. Yeah. It would be my reaction as well. When I remember when Arne pitched it and he said, we have seen 30% of increased qualified conversion. Yeah, sure. And then again, he showed us the numbers of the customers that we have worked in the past. And then he said, okay, it's more than just a planning tool. It's a highly valuable tool for the customers that we work with today. So that has been our experience so far.
Yeah, and I think that the fantastic thing here, we are talking about banks, insurance, and pension, but a lot of customers, I imagine, when they let's say they want to build a new house, they want to do something. If they're setting, and I imagine most customers who book these kind of meetings or go to the homepage, they do it outside of business hours. They probably do it at night with their better half. They sit down and they talk about what are we going to do, and then they go into various homepages and then they book something. And obviously this is a need for banks, but I imagine if you are sitting in that situation, let's say it's a bank loan and you are trying to build a new house, then you're probably sitting that same night trying to get in touch with a carpenter, an architect. Maybe you are looking at, let's say, buying a different car because you are maybe doing a house loan. So maybe you're looking at a few cars and you're filling in the forms. And that means if every one of those people are having contact forms on their homepage, then it's not just a bank calling you the day after. Then when the advisor calls and say, hey, you filled out a form yesterday. Ah, fantastic. Are you the architect? No. Are you the carpenter? No. I'm not the carpenter. I'm the bank advisor. Ah, for Nykredit. No, for Nordea. So I imagine that when you're going to fill out these contact forms, it's gonna be a mess the day after, because there's so many people who are trying to get in touch with you because you have shown interest on their homepage. And I imagine that if we get to a place, Arthur, I really hope we do here in Denmark, where you can go into all different branches, all different kind of websites, and there's just a very intelligent, smart contact form. So if you are a large entrepreneurial company and you want to talk to the carpenter of that firm, or you want to talk to the architect of that firm, that you can easily book someone there. So by the end of the day, when you're sitting with your spouse and you've gone through all the different projects you are looking at, that the day after your phone doesn't ring, you just have a lot of planned appointments with the ones who are supposed to help you with the building project, the new house, the new car. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So we have 15 minutes, 20 minutes left, and there's one thing I really want to cover, because Skedify, essentially, as I understood from you, is a fantastic tool that integrates with Sitecore. I bet your calendar, because we want to get those appointments in the calendar. You said Dynamics, Salesforce, all these different integrations are put in place. And it sounds like something that is not very easily done, because there is some setup that needs to be done, but it sounds like something that is more or less off the shelf, where we can integrate easily to the different platforms. I imagine there's a lot of companies sitting out there who are maybe thinking about or in the process of developing some kind of solution that gives them these kind of capabilities themselves. I imagine a lot of them probably haven't thought about all the different nitty-gritty details that you have, being that you have only done this and focused on this for the past couple of years. But what's the difference between building something yourself for your company versus buying something like Skedify? What's your experience there? And why should they buy Skedify is maybe the important question, instead of developing the...
And I think the tendency for a lot of companies who have the resources and the money to build something themselves, it will be the first logical reaction to say, we need a solution, so we will build it ourselves. If you have the money and the people, of course. But that's the thing that I, again, mentioned in the beginning of this conversation, and why we started back in 2014. You had some out-of-the-box scheduling solutions like bookings like Calendly, which are good for SMEs and smaller companies. To schedule a hair appointment or a healthcare appointment, whatever. But enterprise scheduling is something completely different and is complex. And that's the reason why we focus yet again on these bigger companies, because a scheduling platform requires continuous investments, research, and improvements. And that is not the core business of a bank. The core business of a bank is, and for every type of company that is out there, is selling their products, which they have expertise about, or selling their services, which they, again, have expertise about. Our core business, ever since 2014, has only been omnichannel scheduling. So why would you not outsource it to a company that has only done that for the past 2022, so past 8 years, something like that? That has been our only core business. Then again, if you want to build it yourselves, there are a lot of questions that you need to take into account. Are we going to start small with a smaller team and then expand it to the entire company? If we want to have integrations, we need to build them ourselves. Skedify is a solution that you can just can get off the shelf and already has out-of-the-box integrations with the most common systems that are out there. Who is going to maintain it? That is also a question. We do it for our customers, updates, etc. You have it as a customer. If you build it yourselves, how up-to-date is your system? Did you cover all the aspects of a scheduling solution that is out there? Because we have experience for the past 8 years. We have seen a lot of different use cases, so we know what works in the market, what doesn't, what is important. And all that kind of knowledge that we have gathered in the 8 past years with many different customers is all combined in the platform that we have today. And I think that is one of the most important reasons to, if not, I'm not saying that you should immediately come to us and buy Skedify, but at least open up a conversation and see what kind of value that can bring. Then again, I mentioned as well, we're not a commodity product, and not a lot of people already know what appointment scheduling is all about and what it can do. And for example, when I go into a customer meeting, and before the meeting, they didn't even know Skedify, let alone appointment scheduling, we show what we can do, and then they get excited. Oh, we can use it there and there, and let's make an integration with that system, and etc. But the one thing that I do want to mention is start out small. It's not a commodity product. Start small, start simple. We provide the value in a specific period of time, and over time we can expand it and scale it within your company. because we have the experience with our customer success team who will help you, who will handheld you, who will tell you how to use the product more than 100%. If you build a solution yourselves, I mean, then it's a lot of trial and error. And that is okay if you have a lot of time and don't mind spending money on something that you're building yourselves. But we have the experience, we have the knowledge, and we have a solid product which already integrates with all the systems that you use today. So then again, I'm sounding really salesy right now, but then why shouldn't you come to us and just open up a conversation to see what we can do? And then that has often worked with a lot of customers in the past who told me 2 years ago. It's actually a funny story because yesterday I got a demo request on our website from a company that I reached out to 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they told me, interesting solution that you have, nice demo, but we're going to do it ourselves. Yesterday, I get a demo request from the exact same company, because it's funny that I mention it right now. And they said like, hey, Arthur, we're looking for a solution. We've seen it with another company that is using it in Belgium, and it's exactly what we're looking for. So I reached out to the guy and I said like, hey, it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I've been talking to other people as well within your company 2 years ago. And he said that is so weird, because back then we were looking for a solution and I think we decided to build it ourselves. And now it's exactly what we're looking for. So later this week, I have a call with him, and then I hope it will go well. But it's funny that people that want to build it themselves in the beginning eventually come back to us to see what we can do for them. And that's the biggest compliment as a company that you can get from my point of view, because it seems easy, appointment scheduling, linking to an agenda, etc. But it's much more than that. And that's the beauty of what we do and what we will do towards the future as well.
Yeah, and again, I can see your enthusiasm, and I can see that your smile is you're lighting up, which is fantastic. Because we've seen countless of projects here in Denmark, both small and big, both in the private sector and the public sector, where there is an off-the-shelf product, but for some reason companies decide that they can probably build something better from the ground up. And I remember the biggest one that I can kind of think of was we have this travel card in Denmark, Rejsekort in Denmark. And they started that project back in 2007. And back then they said, what you need when you are doing public transport in Denmark is you need a card, and then you need to have it in your wallet. And you can, when you go to the train, we will set up these stands, and then you tap your card, and then you can take the train. And when you go to the final destination, you tap your card again, and then you move out. 2007 was the same year that this little guy was introduced. And by the time they were finished building that product, no one wanted a card anymore. They wanted an app. And that means that, one, the whole infrastructure that was built wasn't designed for that. Number two, they were building those expensive stands and building the whole infrastructure on every single station bus stop in Denmark and in the buses as well. And by the time they were finished, they had to realize, well, there's no need for all that hardware, all that equipment. And I imagine this being the same. I imagine that a lot of companies now can spend years trying to work and perfect the lead generation of their company, or they can buy something that is off the shelf. And with new systems coming out every day, I bet you guys are developing your product and our product it is now to make sure that it is relevant, that it is compatible with the systems that your customers are using, to make sure that it stays relevant and it stays a top shelf product, just like we do in video. We're not done making video conferencing. It's not a finished product. We on version 27 now, and we're already developing V28, and there's a lot of cool features. I had a meeting with a customer yesterday. That's fantastic. That was exactly what we need. We were missing that. So I imagine both the scheduling tool and the video conferencing, that's been something that is going to be developed by all the people inside of our company. And I think we have hundreds and hundreds of developers sitting working on video and scheduling now. And that makes our product, I think, one of the best products in the world. And that is something that is very hard to compete with if you are a bank with a couple of local developers trying to do it yourself. So, but let's say, I want to finish off with one small, let's say you are building something. Mm-hmm. Is there any need to meet with us? Is there any need to set up a meeting with the developers, the people who are in marketing, who are actually trying to develop this? Should they still have a meeting with us and run through something? Would that still make sense, you think?
I mean, again, I think it does to just set up some time. Half an hour, 1 hour, we can just one-on-one compare what we do, what we have done, what we have delivered for existing customers. And then you can compare it to the solution that you're trying to build yourselves. And in worst case, you will have spent an hour learning more about the solution and things that you can implement in your solution that you're trying to build. If in that 1 hour you see the lights and you think, okay, this is maybe the solution that we need, then the hour is well spent. And that is something that I always tell the customers that tell me, okay, Arthur, interesting solution, but we are building it ourselves. Then I just suggest, okay, let's just have a one-on-one conversation where we compare it one-to-one and just see. It's not a waste of time for me because I can learn a lot from the customer as well. Because what do they expect of a solution? What do they see in a solution? What are they trying to build? That helps us as well with a lot of valuable information. But I can give some insights into how our solution works and maybe help you guys with building it yourselves. Because then again, I'm only here as an expert and I'm only here to help. And okay, eventually, as a sales guy, you like to sell your products, but most importantly for me is to help the customer in any way possible. And is that with sharing insights from our work that we have done? Then that's okay. Is that with selling our product? That's even better. And that's the thing. Just having a conversation is more than enough for me to get to know people, know what lives and works in the market, and then eventually, if there's sales that goes behind it, more than perfect. But have that conversation. It's not a waste of time, nor for you as a company, nor for me as a sales guy as well.
True.
And I hope that makes sense, because that is going against my sales and commercial mentality. But I mean, it's more about helping the customer. Just like 2 years ago, I did a demo and they said, I will build it themselves. Okay, perfect. We had a good conversation. 2 years after, they come back to have a conversation again to see what we can do for them. In the long run, it always pays off just to have a conversation, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've been working in modern workplace for 10 years, and I saw a video yesterday of myself. I think it was 7 years back, where I was talking about modern workplace, how we now have the capabilities to actually have this free seating option when you are in the company, the ability to work from home, video conferencing in the meeting room, intelligent booking screen, so you can analyze your whole estate and see how you're actually using your building, and use that kind of intelligence to optimize the way people are working and their interaction and collaborating. And it's fun to look at that back then, before COVID and before all that, and to see that was one of the most important factors in the COVID situation, was the ability to change from the old way of working to kind of the modern workplace way of working. And a lot of customers had to be forced into that situation. They after the meetings, or after they saw a video like this, or a presentation I did 7 years ago, they didn't immediately go, we need to change everything. We need free seating, we need video conferencing, virtual meetings, we need to be able to collaborate on documents, we need to be able to innovate on how we work. But COVID forced them to do it, and now everyone is seeing the benefit. And I think it's the same thing that goes for this. There are so many solutions out there that can change the world, that can make it a better place, that can make it easier for people to connect, and easier for banks to reach their goals in terms of helping their customers, and this is definitely one of them. So as you said, I really want those of you who are watching out there, either right now or just watching it later, because we are recording this. So if you're watching, you might be watching it a year from now. If there's anything you have any questions about, if you want to try, if you want to spend an hour with me or Arthur or David or all of us, reach out. We are on LinkedIn, as Arthur said. We also have a contact opportunity on our homepage, so you can actually go in and book a meeting with Arthur right away. You don't have to fill in a contact formula, and we are here to help you make the experience for your customers and your advisors a fantastic experience. So I think that's a wrap for today. We will post this on social media, so you will be able to see this later today if you want to see it again. And if you're seeing it years from now, hearing me talk about dust in Alicante from the Sahara Desert, then you might know when we recorded this. But thank you guys so much. Thank you, Arthur, for being part of this little fun idea of doing a podcast. And thank you, David, for also wanting to participate today. Any final remarks from you guys?
Yeah, I think a final remark will be that we have talked a lot about banking and in the financial sector, but also I think this one is tailored for retail, and we have been on some customer meeting as well, and even some enterprise want to use it as an internal booking system. For example, an IT department with many employees, where the employees can contact a specific IT support. So we can see it in internal use and especially also in retail. I think that's a great opportunity as well. So it's not only for banking or the financial sector as well. So I think it's a broad appeal for this product as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And elaborating on what David said, it's we've talked a lot about value and stuff and everything that goes around that. But the most important thing is what I tell my customers as well. It's something visual. You need to see it, how it works and what it can do. So if customers or potential people that are interested in this would like to see more, you can schedule time with Kenneth, David, or the three of us to just see what it can do and how it looks. And then we're more than pleased to either come over or show you guys through video what the possibilities are. As a side note, I do want to mention that as a first ever podcast, I think it was quite the experience. I didn't know what to expect, but it was really nice to do so. And I assume that we had a good flow in our conversation. So let's see what everyone else thought. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. See you guys out there.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.